Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open one of the most baffling cold cases in all of human history, the mysterious and, honestly, completely staggering disappearance of the Indus Valley Civilization.
Okay, let's dive right into this. How does a sprawling, super advanced society, one that was literally centuries ahead of its time, just vanish? Poof, gone. We're going to focus intensely today on exactly why these incredible Indus cities suddenly disappeared, leaving behind nothing but silent ruins and unanswered questions.
Section 1. The Great Vanishing Act. Before we get to the collapse, you have to realize just how thoroughly this massive civilization was wiped from human memory for thousands of years. It wasn't until 1829 that a guy named James Lewis, who was actually a deserter from the British East India Company, was traveling undercover and just randomly stumbled across these massive unknown ruins. He had no idea he'd just found the ancient city of Harappa. Fast forward almost a century to the 1920s, and serious excavations finally begin. They uncover sites like Mohenjo-daro, which translates to the Mound of the Dead, and reveal this colossal Bronze Age society that, get this, might stretch back a staggering 8,000 years.
Section 2. An Ancient, Peaceful Utopia.
To really grasp the tragedy of their disappearance, we have to look at what was lost. By 2600 BC, their urban planning was off the charts. They built multi-story houses using perfectly standardized bricks. And here's the kicker. Every single house had its own private toilet and bathing area. In 2600 BC, they had pristine street drainage systems to carry waste away, public dustbins, beautiful tree-lined footpaths, and engineered massive, waterproofed public swimming pools like the famous Great Bath. Honestly, their infrastructure rivaled and maybe even beat some modern cities today.
And all of this brilliantly illustrates how uniquely peaceful and egalitarian they were, especially when you compare them to their famous contemporaries like Egypt and Mesopotamia. Think about it. While Egyptians and Mesopotamians were obsessing over massive royal tombs, waging brutal wars, and worshipping god-kings, the Indus Valley, they had absolutely zero monarchs, no pharaohs. Archaeologists haven't found any evidence of armies, no weapons of war, no grand palaces or religious temples. They just lived peacefully, thriving purely on trade, innovation, and incredible engineering. No harsh social hierarchies in sight.
Section 3. The Silent Script.
Normally, when we want to solve a historical cold case like this, we turn to written records, right? We want to hear from the witnesses. But here, we hit a massive, incredibly frustrating brick wall. We've unearthed over 4,000 artifacts with the Indus script, making up about 400 unique, undeciphered signs. Now compare that to Egyptian hieroglyphs, which we have completely deciphered. Why? Because the Egyptians left us the Rosetta Stone, a literal translation key. But for the Indus script, nothing. Despite over 100 serious attempts by top scholars to crack it, we have absolutely zero ancient Google Translate. No Rosetta Stone has ever been found.
What we do know is that it's a logosyllabic script. Basically, that's a writing system where individual symbols are used to express a specific whole word or a distinct sound. It operates a lot like those decoded Egyptian hieroglyphs we just talked about. But sadly, without a translation key, the actual voices and stories of the Indus people remain completely locked away from us.
But even without reading it, the visual clues on these tiny stone seals are totally fascinating. For instance, we know for a fact they wrote from right to left. How? Well, on the surviving artifacts, the symbols get noticeably smaller and more cramped at the left margin. It's exactly what happens when you're writing a birthday card and run out of space at the edge of the paper. Plus, these texts are almost always paired with large engravings of animals. Most bizarrely, a creature that looks exactly like a mythical, non-existent unicorn. How cool is that?
Section 4. The Rapid Decline.
Okay, let's move forward and see how this all builds to a completely sudden, terrifying collapse. Follow this chilling timeline with me. Around 1900 BC, the rapid decline of this vibrant civilization begins. Within just 100 years, by 1800 BC, these once thriving megacities are left mostly empty. Fast forward to 1300 BC, and all that brilliant city planning, the standardized weights, the writing system, it fully stops. And by 600 BC, the entire civilization is completely over.
The reality on the ground during this collapse must have been incredibly grim. In stark contrast to their beautiful, advanced peak, those pristine, perfectly engineered sewers failed. They were just left unmaintained. The magnificent Great Bath, once the ultimate symbol of their cleanliness, literally filled up with waste. The bustling, perfectly planned, peaceful streets just went entirely silent. An entire utopia unraveled in a historical blink of an eye.
Section 5. 3 Theories of Collapse.
So this brings us directly to the core of our investigation. Why did they vanish? Who or what is the primary historical suspect for this apocalyptic event? Let's walk through the 3 main archaeological theories. Theory number 1 is the dying river. These cities relied heavily on river systems, potentially the ancient Saraswati River. Tectonic shifts in the Earth's crust could have naturally changed the river's course, or dried it up completely, forcing everyone to just abandon their homes. Theory number 2, ecological collapse. To bake their millions of standardized bricks, they needed massive, constant fires. It's highly possible they chopped down so much of the surrounding forest for fuel and cattle grazing that they completely ruined their own ecosystem. And theory number 3 is fatal disease, a horrific plague rapidly sweeping through the tightly packed urban population.
So the crucial point here is that massive 70 to 80% figure. When we look at ancient outbreaks of malaria or waterborne diseases like cholera, they were devastatingly common. An unchecked plague in a dense, ancient urban center was more than capable of wiping out 70 to 80% of a population entirely on its own. Honestly, any of these 3 scenarios, or maybe a nasty combination of the 3, could have triggered the end.
Section 6. A warning from history. Now, we have to relate this ancient tragedy directly back to our modern lives. Take a moment to really absorb this immense scale of time. The Indus Valley Civilization wasn't just a flash in the pan. They survived, they innovated, and they reigned supreme as a peaceful, highly organized society for a staggering 5,000 years before finally falling.
Which brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought. Our modern civilization, with all of our advanced technology, our towering skyscrapers, and global connections, hasn't existed for even half that time. If a society that advanced, that perfectly planned, and that peaceful could suddenly vanish into the earth, well, what will be our fate? Are we truly immune to a sudden vanishing of our own? I hope this explainer sparked your curiosity, and I'll leave you to ponder that question. Thanks for joining me.